Hi, this is Cindy
And Michael.
from Part-Time Permies, and I think we have sound. So, I just got to set up my windows correctly so I can
It
see the
looks like
chat.
we actually have some
We have it
speed on our internet for the moment.
for the moment
So,
today, and I'm messing. Why did that stop? Okay, that was a technical difficulty on our end, it looks like. So, sorry for the buffering. It should be going again now. Somehow OBS software had stopped itself for the moment, but let's do a sound check.
my mom said it's okay.
Okay, so before we had our program decide to stop streaming for a second, we were going, and I think we're back. Hey, Tina. So, Diana, Food Forest, your mom, and Tina are in the room, and there may be one or two others that looked like. So, very nice to see you guys. We have crazy busy weeks, all mainly business related right now with the holidays.
A lot of pasta moving out for gifts, and restaurants are all trying to keep on top of
holiday stuff.
Orders. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of that. It should start to slow a touch next week, I think. We got a lot of that out, loaded people up. So,
yeah,
mostly just handling a few restaurants and trying to regroup a little bit.
Yep. So, we'll go through a little bit of what we've been doing this week. Of course, I'll just mention once more, since we have just these 2 weekends before the holidays, if anyone has any questions about holiday cooking, there's our series that you can look at. The link is in the description below, but you can also ask us questions later in the show. So start thinking about those questions you have for us. I have a few update pictures of the baby. We have Freeze Jonathan. It's Tammy McNeil.
Hi, Tammy.
Yeah, computers. Oh no. Okay, well, I'm glad you made it in on your son's computer then. That works. Since people like to see the Puttan sightings and Puttan is not allowed on the couch anymore, I will give you a picture of her on her bed. That is actually where she is right now.
I caught that picture of her a couple days ago. Well, I caught her.
You caught her in that position.
I was like, she looks ridiculous.
Yeah, she is so flexible.
All curled around and mashed down. It was in the evening.
I don't know how she gets her head that far around her body.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a cute picture of her. We have a couple little baby updates. Bella is finally taking to the swing as it swings. So last week we were saying she was okay if it was staying still, but didn't like it swinging. Now she's starting to take to it when it's swinging, at least at times. And she will take naps in there. So that is nice.
Linda Taylor is here.
Oh, hello, Linda.
Good. Glad to hear that everything got in one piece, Tina.
Yep. Yes.
Threw in one of our Celebrate 2020 holiday Christmas chef features for you. And I think I made about 60 of those. I had 30 of, well, I had 20 that then became 30 that were a contract project, which was the base of some of it. We were thinking about this and then had to pull it together. And then everything else went out to other stores that sell product. And I think I had 3 to send to market and they're all gone. And so I came home from market yesterday. I'm like, well, those are gone.
Yeah.
It is a limited edition, but I may make it one more time. So anyway, you got one of them. I threw one of those in there for free.
So they're not going on the webpage at the moment.
No, that's so well, they were fun. So I'll try and make another batch. Maybe it'll be 60 or so again.
Okay. So yeah, we'll have to come back to that. Bella is getting more and more awake, more and more hours of the day, so playing around and active, and you got to play with her a little bit today as well. And as you were falling asleep yesterday too.
Thanks for the great picture. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
no,
it was
I'm
cute
not.
of Bella.
I'm not ill. I'm not passed out.
It was.
I think I was actually awake.
You were awake.
I was just looking downward.
Yeah.
And we've got a cameo for Penelope in there.
Yeah. Okay, that's a stuffed animal. That is
yellow Penelope shows up.
This yellow dog on the side is a stuffed animal. Yes. Our stuffed animals have names, by the way, and stories.
Our chickens don't have names. Well,
most of them don't have names. I think actually right now, I think most of our ones with names have died.
They have.
I don't think we have any with names right now. Well, we call the one the
We got
pheasant.
the pheasant that's just got the dark,
It's like
dark and gold
it's like
feathering.
Miss Blue had a blue tag on her. She was a Buff
It
Orpington. She was
wasn't
not
blue,
blue.
yeah.
So, yeah. We did have another snowstorm this week. Had a few inches.
We got 4 or 5. It
Yeah.
was light and fluffy,
Yeah.
but it did fade fairly quickly. It's virtually gone right now.
Yeah,
It
there's
was
only
pretty. I almost thought I was gonna have to plow. So Sunday, we got it Sunday afternoon into Sunday,
no,
and then into
it was
or was it
Tuesday or something.
Monday?
Monday or Tuesday.
Monday. I was really busy.
Yeah.
It was Monday to Tuesday, and we were supposed to get a half an inch at night and a half an inch during the day. And we got the lake effect, and it just sat over the top of us all day, and we got almost 5 inches.
Yeah.
So I asked the neighbor if I needed to plow, because usually we plow at 3 or 4 inches. They're on gravel, so it's less important for them.
But you didn't have the plow on the truck.
I didn't have a plow on the truck, so I said, look, if you need it in the morning, I was too busy that day. I said, I'll get the plow on in the morning. Yeah, it was Tuesday morning, and I'll plow. And I said, don't worry about it. And actually, it was so light, it's disappeared. So I need to put the plow back on the truck. So.
Going back to Tina and her pasta, I think she had pasta for dinner tonight.
Oh yeah, what'd you make?
Yeah, that's the big question. You have to tell us what you made with it, and which one you used.
And Brainstorm Acres.
Hello.
Are you new, or is that you going under a different name because you're on cell phone, or did we just miss that you've been
in the room? So welcome. We had, what was it, Thursday, a car jammed packed with boxes. And one little corner, if you see what's facing the other way.
A little more room. We're supposed to have another cooler with us for another vendor friend that makes cheese.
We had deliveries on Thursday.
But we didn't make that connection. She didn't make it, so.
And deliveries across the state, and we went across the state with Bella for those deliveries. So yeah, you started with a delivery in town, but that's how jammed packed the car was with boxes. I don't think we could.
Pasta doesn't pack down, especially when it's in boxes. There's a lot of dead space. I had 4, 8, 12, 13. I think I had at least 15 boxes in there.
Like
so,
that.
But we're pretty full.
Yeah.
I couldn't have put much more in there.
Yeah, no. You couldn't have gotten that cooler in there not with Bella in there.
Well, I don't know what size her coolers are small. It's cheese. It's not
my
cooler.
Yeah. Oh, okay, not on yours. Yes.
You can she's the opposite. You can put a lot of high cost cheese in a small space.
Yep.
I have to put a lot of moderate priced product in a large space for delivery. So yeah.
So for those of you guys in Michigan, the delivery stops we made. The first one's at a restaurant.
Yeah, it's a restaurant. We like them a lot. Good people, like the chef. They got good food.
It's Bravo in Kalamazoo, technically in Portage, I guess.
Yeah,
across from the airport.
Yeah.
Then we started heading across the state. So we stopped in Chelsea, Michigan at a farm store, new farm store.
They've been open since the summer, I think early midsummer, yeah.
I think they call themselves Agricole.
Agricole, yep. Agricole.
Mm-hmm. And then we had a stop.
Brand new store.
Brand new shop.
They've been open a week and a half.
No, a week and a half, 11 days.
Yeah.
Vestergaard Farms has a new farm market. They're just outside of Ann Arbor on the south side on Wagner and near Scioto Church. So that was another store that literally
they're primarily a meat farm. He's had the farm for 10 years. And they're bringing in some other stuff, but their main product is pastured and
so they
grass-fed meats.
Beef,
pork,
and chicken.
Chicken. They have a little lamb or no? I'm not sure if they have lamb.
Think I saw lamb, but beef, pork, and chicken.
They're selling. They're selling out and having to send more head to. They're running out of meat. It was selling so well that they're opening, so they're really excited.
Yeah.
But so they started their business.
So they were running out of beef. Actually, their sign is beef. There's a pig on top of a cow, and on top of the pig there's a chicken. So that's what I was going by.
Yeah. So they're an old traditional farm just outside of a really dense area. So it's great that they're making a go of keeping some really traditional old farms.
Historic building.
Yeah, I mean, running and keeping them in commercial small agriculture. So yeah.
And then in Ann Arbor we had 2 stops, both owned by the same people, the Argus Farm shops. One's on Packard and one's on Liberty, so they both have the
About 5 years, they kind of
Yeah,
developed this project of selling like a farm market, but selling like a storefront 7 days a week.
yeah.
So
So they have all local food. They recruited, kind of
they
sought
actually
you
they
out.
actually called me. Yep.
Yeah. So they found our webpage and sought you out for pasta product because there's not many people making pasta in Michigan.
Rustic Traditions is here.
Hello, hello. Um, and at the end of all this, since my family is actually in Ann Arbor,
Mm-hmm.
we decided to stop
had
by.
dinner with them.
We had dinner with my parents, and this is my dad holding Bella. So he got to, well, both of them got to hang out with Bella, and hang out with us, and we got dinner before we headed back to Kalamazoo. So all in all, a full day of travel.
Yeah, so Cindy did the photos and ran some Instagram for the business.
Yeah,
For me, it's a work day, a couple new accounts, so we spent a little extra time
yeah,
working with them and coordinating and new small businesses, chat business and help each other out. So we were helping Vestergaard on some projects that they were trying to figure out how to do, and
yeah.
we'd already done like
Some labeling
dealing
stuff,
with labeling and
barcodes.
inventorying and barcodes. I said, hey, we got answers and doing
Yeah,
how we print things. I said, we got answers of things you can do and in affordable ways because we figured them out and other
yeah.
people. So a lot of that swapping around, um,
Of
useful
ideas,
information.
information. Yep.
So, yep.
So yeah, the more you help each other out, the more both businesses end up doing
Yeah.
in the end. So if both do well. Um, so that's kind of been our week. You had market yesterday.
Had a busy market yesterday. Thank goodness. Last week was awful. We had a major craft show
In the area.
in
Yeah.
the biggest stadium in the area. Had a craft show that filled the whole thing. We were not part of that. We were too busy to do something like that.
Yeah.
But it just killed our traffic at our regular food farmers market. It was like dead of March traffic,
Yeah.
which is terrible this time of year. But that was done. They were off for the gun and knife show over at the other venue, and it didn't cross over as much. So
Yeah.
we had a pretty good market, and people were out shopping for gifts as well as groceries. So yeah,
Yep.
we've been filling orders and putting a lot of mail order out.
And you said a lot of people saying that they're gonna buy some pasta next week for gifts
I
too.
had 4 or 5. We're gonna buy a whole lot of pasta. We're gonna buy for gifts for friends, and
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, you better get here early because I can only bring.
So
It's like,
much.
why don't you buy it now while I've got it sitting in front of me?
Yeah. Right.
But some people don't have room or
Yeah.
wrapping or counts, or they're waiting for paychecks to come in or
Mm.
whatever. Um, so yeah, I said, great, I'll put as much as I can in the car, but no
Yeah.
guarantee on varieties of what. And then I put out 100 bags in the mail, over 100 bags in the
Oh yeah,
mail
this week.
this week to some large orders for people who are doing corporate type, giving out to colleagues in corporate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we moved. So that's good.
And you had another person. We do gift baskets this time of year, and we do have pictures of one on the webpage if you're interested, with a bunch of pastas in it and some sauce and variety, olive oil, vinegar.
Oils are oil partners.
Yeah.
The sauce is Rayo's from New York, so it's
Yeah.
not
It's not ours, but
it's not ours and it's not local. But Rayo's is a specialty. It's
yeah.
actually some of the best
Yeah,
rated sauce in the country and some stuff. But anyways, that's
So we have some on the webpage, but you sold like 4 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them to one
I
person.
sold 4
gift
baskets. I got a few more.
Mhm.
We can build a few more too. I've got most
Yeah.
of the components ready to go to customize them. But yeah, they're so we got a lot of things we're doing. But yeah, anyways, we're not fully doing pasta today. We're doing other stuff.
Trying to get projects done around the house too.
I couldn't so the goal was to blow the leaves last Sunday afternoon because it was dry before the snow came in. Started raining by the end, and all I did was get the roof and key areas blown off. Of course, we had done the garage door, had to put the new garage door opener motor on short notice last week, and then so I didn't get much else done. This week was mostly go go go.
Yep, and I forgot to put the picture in here, and I put it in the title. I actually had something start in our greenhouse this week. I started growing some seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Only one little pot. We had one pot that I forget what was in there before it, whatever it was end of the season or died off. Oh, I think it was the pot with the pecans that didn't make it. Um, So what I did was I planted some spinach seeds in there, and it's been in the 30s, maybe getting up to the 40s some days, and in the greenhouse, and we've been colder outside, so we've been. I don't know if you can see that. I can see it on my picture, but you might have to zoom in a little bit. You can see little sprouts coming up of our spinach. I also have a label here for persimmon because we were eating persimmons and none of them had seeds, but one had one seed, so I went and decided to stick it in there.
I don't know if that seed's even big,
Probably
big as
not
I'm used
viable.
to. I think it's not. I think they're breeding it out on that one. But
Probably, yeah, they're probably breeding
if you're
for
looking for
sterility.
Rayos, yeah, I have seen Rayos at. I don't go to Walmart much, but
Okay.
occasionally we do. I think I've seen it there. Um, Costco stocks it. They stock a bigger jar.
Do they do the double jar or just a big jar?
It changes. They're
Yeah.
always changing stuff, but um, I use it just as a notable brand in our gift bags, and it's one of the best rated.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of pricey, but I end up buying small batches of them and using them when I need them.
Hi,
We're
Rachel.
actually thinking about co-packing some of our own sauces, and if
Mhm.
that's the case, we won't be using Rails. But I do know Costco regularly carries it. Ours does right now, or has for the last year or so.
And if yours doesn't, I know they have a request
Hmm.
station that you can put in a request for it if
And they
that's
get
something
you an
that
extra big jar at about the same price, so it's probably the cheapest place you're going to buy it anywhere because they can get you for a lot of money on Rails.
you eat it because it's Tuesday for the pasta.
What's
Want
it?
to Linda wants to use it for a special dish
Yeah,
and
yeah,
post a picture.
that's great.
And Tina says, "You're special. Eat it now."
Yeah, that's
Because
it.
it's Tuesday. No, there's no. You know how they do Taco Tuesdays, and
Yeah.
we don't have a good day for pasta.
No, it's Pasta Sunday.
Is it
So in
pasta?
the
Oh, for the
60s,
Italians, yeah.
yeah, in the 60s in New York, they always had
Pasta on Sundays.
what was it? Well,
Brunch?
you have Pasta Sunday, but then what was the commercials that ran?
I don't
Is
know.
that was that Tuesdays? I think it
Hmm.
was Sundays, but Pasta Sunday, when pasta was not a commonly eaten thing through most of the United States, unless it was an ethnic, dish, they were pushing. One of the brands was pushing, and you see all the advertisements,
Yeah,
especially on the East Coast. But
pasta.
I want to say it's
Well,
Sunday.
that's a fairly traditional Italian day
Yeah,
to
and
do
that's the day
pasta.
that because people make Sunday gravy
Yeah,
or all day gravy, and would
you
do
have the
that on
family
Sunday.
together, and
Might be
yeah,
done on other days, but
yeah,
having the big family meal on
yeah.
Sunday afternoon or evening. So, yeah. What do persimmons taste like? Persimmons, well, it depends on if you get a ripe one or an unripe one. If they're
There's a couple varieties too. There's an Asian variety and
yeah,
a
there's a bunch, but the
Mediterranean
most
variety,
common, yeah, you have the
or
fuyu, which is flower shaped and prized in Japan and
that's the kind
Korea.
we had.
Those you eat a little bit firm,
Hmm.
and they're very sweet. They're almost sugary sweet, slightly tropical. Prince spaghetti, that's what it is. That's exactly what it
Wednesdays.
is. One of them. So spaghetti. The
Yeah,
Sundays are traditional family. It was
yeah.
Prince spaghetti because they figured people were busy. They're starting to sell jarred sauces and stuff and make it a national thing.
Oh, Tuscan
Tuscan
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So yeah, but Prince Spaghetti is the historic one, and people actually collect their advertisements.
Hmm.
Um,
Going back to
yeah,
persimmons.
so persimmons are super sweet, almost like honey, slightly tropical.
Hmm.
Um, the Asian ones, the flesh is firm but soft and have a little crunch to it. The skin's very thick. A lot
It's
of
like
times,
got a pop to it in a way, or
yeah,
a
people will
crunch to
peel
it.
the skin a lot of times because it's very,
It's a thicker skin, yeah.
yeah. The Mediterranean one, which is more of a it's like a heart shape, and it's about the size of putting your hand. Has more of a point to it. Um, it will break down till it's almost soft and completely running in your hands, and is also super honey sweet. If you eat that one and it's not completely soft, it will be so tannic and bitter. It's like eating a raw olive. If you ever tried that, you will not be able to eat it. It's absolutely awful. You'll pucker up for minutes trying to spit it out if you check so you let them sit in your window until they're just almost
Until
falling
soft.
apart.
Yeah.
You pick them underripe so they can transport, and otherwise you're chasing the birds and the squirrels for them if they're falling off the trees.
But I'd love to plant one here.
Yeah, so we're thinking about putting one in. They're pretty. I know people on Long Island that do the Mediterranean ones, and they'll hold hardy for about Long Island, and then you're kind of
Yeah.
pushing it. The Asian ones
Cold hard
are
more.
very cold hardy because they
Yeah.
grow in Japan and Korea, which is temps that are similar. A lot of the
Korea's
areas are similar to here,
Korea is very similar to
and
here.
you'll see all the Asian drawings and persimmon. In fact,
Mm.
PJ just had pictures in Japan. He's in a small town in Japan.
Okay,
There's a persimmon tree sitting in the yard of his house that
cool.
they're at, and so they're traditionally available around Christmas time, and
Hmm.
so just like pomegranates, they're an exotic fruit that's can be kind of expensive. They're come down in price a little bit, but people will have them for Christmas.
But the Asian ones, they have to, they actually need the cold in the
Hmm.
winter to germinate. So I went ahead and put the one seed we got, hoping, okay, now I'm not putting any money on this. Put the one seed in the pot with the spinach growing.
I'm putting money against it,
I'm putting money against it too
because
for two
these were
reasons.
seedless, effectively
These
seedless.
these were seedless persimmons, and we found
Yeah,
one seed, so it's probably sterile. But the other reason is, from what I've read, um, you can grow persimmons from seed, but it has about a 30% germination rate. So even if it was a
yeah.
viable seed persimmon from a
And I've
viable,
I've seen the big seeds and the other persimmons. So if you go to a grocery store that has an exotic section or a specialty section, maybe they have the mangoes and pineapples, or they get the dragon fruit and whatever else. Right now, you may very likely find persimmons because it's traditional Christmas food and sought after around much of the world. So it could be in with your pomegranates and I don't know. Sometimes there's guava or passion fruit. Or
yeah.
we have Myers. It has the best produce in our area as far as a big store. They stock a lot of specialty things and run a good produce department. So they actually have persimmons. You'll see them about half the year.
And Tina, I have an answer for that question. What spices does Mike recommend for bread dipping in olive oil? I'll give one recommendation.
Well, because it's Lebanese olive oil. The
You got to
go-to
use that
is
tar.
the tar, and in fact, Carol, who it's their oil, she recommends you buy a za'atar, so sesame seed and sumac and thyme
Yep.
blend, and they put it in and they make it thick. They do like a tablespoon of dry za'atar and about a tablespoon or so of oil, so it's almost
Like thick, like
thick
peanut
and
butter.
pasty. Yeah, not quite that thick, but it's
No.
pasty, and then they paste that or spread that
They
on the
spread it
bread, or
on the bread, yeah.
they dig the bread into the oil and eat that. So the tar is a great recommendation. I think the tar is really nice on
It's
grilled.
got tart. It's got
Yeah,
either they use wild thyme or wild oregano, and they're
there's
related.
many different types
Yeah.
of tar depending on the specific area.
Yeah.
They'll have different things in them, but toasted sesame seeds and such.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really nice is, of course, fresh rosemary. If you have access to fresh rosemary, just breaking a sprig of that. Of course, you can do the balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar, and oil.
And we're bouncing around
Yeah.
on our, oh no. Oh
See if we
boy.
come back here. What? Oh, there we go.
I
That's
think we're
back.
back.
It's bouncing
Oh,
back.
darn it.
Yes,
Zatar.
Zatar.
Let's
That's
go
it.
back. I don't know where that cut out because our internet bounced around there.
Yeah, so Zatar is
Sumac,
thyme and
thyme,
toasted sesame
toasted
seeds.
sesame. Sometimes instead of thyme, it's oregano.
Oregano. Sometimes it has other things in there. It just varies. But yeah, so that's perfect. I like fresh rosemary or any of your fresh herbs. Of course, you can do red wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar.
Yeah.
You can do toasted garlic, slow toasted and mash it in there. I think good olive oil, honestly, I typically don't put anything in good oil because I want to taste the oil.
Yeah.
Cheap oil or less expensive olive oil is where I'd be more likely to mix it with stuff because
Hey Dana. Welcome.
It's like making mulled wine with a great bottle of Bordeaux. It's just
Why do it?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But this oil does great with za'atar. In fact, we regularly serve samples with za'atar, and so that would be my go-to.
Yeah.
But then your fresh herbs and other things.
Yeah. So so Tina, you can make your own za'atar. Technically, you'd probably have to buy the toasted sesame, unless you grow sesame
It's
there.
pretty easy to get za'atar.
But you have sumac everywhere.
Yeah,
you could dry it and grind it, and you probably grow thyme.
Yeah, some people are growing sesame actually.
That's what I'm saying. You could almost grow between growing and foraging. You could come up with your own mix right here. So yeah, we could do that.
East Texas. Carrie's not here tonight. She's at a party. She said.
Yeah, she's from Texas.
She's in West Texas, I think.
She's in the Texas Hill Country, I think.
Yeah, I think she's Northwest.
Yeah, in the rocky areas. Um, we did have some good food using your pasta this week, so I'm going back to pasta here for a moment. You
Oh yeah, we
had
cooked some pasta.
bucatini, which we don't have on the web page because it doesn't dry well, right?
Yeah, I don't have. I have a good drying process, but it's really the most challenging thing I've found to dry. The chance of it splitting down the length of it, and it's fragile for packing.
'Cause it
We
has
just
a hole down the middle of
yeah,
it.
and it's then we just do it fresh.
Yeah.
So
So we sell that one at the local market.
you can find there are
Fresh.
some commercial companies that sell it dry though.
Yeah. But for our Mark company, we
Yeah, we
just
don't
sell
do
it
it.
locally. But we make carbonara with that, which we have a recipe for carbonara using the
Sumac
spaghetti.
allergy. Yeah, sumac has
Um,
what acid in it that there's a number of people. If you get too much of it, everybody has a problem with it.
oxalic.
It's oxalic acid.
I don't think it
Yeah,
has a whole lot of it. It's actually a lot
yeah.
more malic acid and
Malic, which is
ascorbic
what's in, yeah,
acid.
malic is in apples.
Yep, and ascorbic acid is another primary acid in there.
But yeah, there's a good number of people that are allergic to sumac. It's
But you do have to watch. There's the poison sumac, but any sumac with red berries is not poisonous. Those are all edible. So the poison sumac has
yep.
big white berries. It grows in the swamps. It's a completely different plant, actually.
Arizona too. We got a lot
Yeah.
of out west.
Yeah. Hello. Wow, you guys. Desert Angel Homestead, welcome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're bouncing around between sumac. There's a delay here, guys. So the reason why we're bouncing around, we see the comments on what we are just talking about come through.
Usually we have about a 20-second delay. I haven't checked it.
So we get into the next topic and then see the comments on the last topic.
Yep.
But hey, it works. If you guys don't mind us bouncing like
Arizona is one of the states I've not been to.
that. Yeah.
There's a
We
few,
had
but
someone else from Arizona last week. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so you want to talk about what?
yeah, we made some carbonara. It was just what was this Wednesday night, Thursday night?
Oh, I don't even remember. The days are
I
blending
think it was
together.
Thursday. No, yeah, it was Friday. It was Friday night.
It's before the market.
It was Friday. I was making and packing it for market for Saturday.
So pasta carbonara is what?
It's usually cured pork that is toasted or browned, so like bacon or pancetta or jowl fat. Typically not smoked, but can be smoked. We're using some prosciutto and some homemade bacon in that. And then it's finished with a sauce, traditionally egg, whole egg, or some egg yolk. Sometimes it has some cream, but I think it's most traditionally done with egg. And then it's finished with generally a good amount of black pepper. Sometimes it has some butter or olive oil, which I have both in there. Sometimes it has a little cream. We didn't do that. Butter and olive oil do it just fine.
Yeah.
We threw some peas in there, balance it out, and you toss it and you kind of make an egg, make a sauce out of the eggs. So it's easy. It's breakfast for dinner. It's things we have around the house a lot of the time, and it makes pasta taste great.
Yeah, and it's like we have a video on it on our part-time perm. Sorry, baby's waking up. On the Part-Time Permies page, we have a video on that, but we also link that on the pasta webpage. So we have a bunch of recipes on the pasta webpage if you want to check that out as well. So a couple of them videos that were done through Part-Time Permies, and a lot of them just written out recipes as well. So we have that. Yeah, wanted to make the lemonade, picked the red berries, and yeah, had allergic reactions.
Well, the berries also because they're hairy, they can annoy skin irritation, other things. But yeah, if you're getting a reaction like that on your surface plate, that's not to ingest it. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's affecting breathing and swelling.
Kiwis also, the hairs on the kiwis and things can bother people.
Yeah.
40 pounds, and that's. So I worked with an Australian chef for a while, and he said he won't touch a kiwi because in school, kiwi grows on a vine. They're a weed. They go nuts. They get tremendous amounts of them. And of course, the very best, perfect size shaped ones get exported here. And we thought them as special and expensive because they were. They're kind of moderate in price now, and they're growing all over the world now. But
they're more tropical.
But yeah, they were growing tons of them, and they would give them to the school for like free as rejects because they were off. They were off size shape, whatever. So they're always giving all these kiwis, and he thought they were the worst things. Of course, if they're not very ripe, they're not very good either.
Yeah.
So he He couldn't stand them. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But yes, I say to pancetta as well back there. Um, kiwi and latex connection.
I don't know. There is latex in certain. Well, there's latex basically in a
In
couple of
in
plants.
certain, yeah. There's and some
Yeah,
mushrooms.
yeah.
Um,
Some mushrooms.
yeah. Yeah. The waxy caps. I want to say not the waxy caps. The
Yeah,
what'd you call them? I'm blanking now. Uh, I don't know if kiwi has that same,
yeah. I don't know.
but anyway. Um,
But yeah, there are definitely people that have some issues with kiwi.
and we can, if you guys have cooking questions, by the way, just throw them out there. We usually have asked the chef. I had in reverse order, but you made this weekend too. You
Yeah, I
actually made
made
two
two
of
loaves.
them.
So that's Stefan B sourdough, the sourdough we've been using
Yeah,
for over a year, and
and it's
really
so
really
good.
like it.
We've already eaten most of one loaf.
It's true. Well, we had some cheese that was given to me yesterday.
Yes.
The best cheese guy at the market says, "Hey, I got it's like a camembert that
Hmm.
he layers 3 layers, and in it he smears a very light
Like a blue.
blue,
Yeah.
very thin layer, and then they mash it back together and they let it age." And he says, "This is really ripe. Is this something you would eat?" And I'm like, he gave me probably 3/4 of a pound. He had two of them because he went to, one's good.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, absolutely. So what he meant by very ripe is actually means it's perfectly ready to eat. It wasn't going bad by any means. It was perfect. So
Yeah.
I actually had a big piece of that on some bread. But that's so
Mm.
that's a regular sourdough. It's a slow acting rye sourdough. So jumping around. So yeah, slow acting rye sourdough. Um, and then we 50/50 unbleached bread flour
Mhm.
and
Blood flour?
whole wheat.
Yeah.
Um, so that was the blend.
That was
So I've been doing all rye or 80% rye. I'm actually getting low on rye, but I ordered a 25-pound bag of rye a couple of weeks ago from the local food co-op, and it keeps not making it on the truck. I stopped by there today, said, "Do you have?" And they're like, "Oh, it's not here yet." I'm like, I've had problems with flour from them. They don't put it on the truck. They order it, but
they don't.
yeah, I don't know. So
Working on the
so
flour
that's a
issue.
whole wheat, which is good. It's a whole blend whole wheat bread flour,
It's really
which
good.
gets a little more loft on it than the rye, because the rye isn't quite as stretchy.
Yeah.
How do you get
So
sourdough started? Yeah, sure. The best way is get one you like from a friend and have them um, send it to you. Yeah, getting moldy. So yeast is very active, and lactobacillus, which is the sour portion, is also very active. So the yeast is a fungus. Lactobacillus is a bacteria that um, they'll outcompete almost everything else, which is why it can be safe generally, because they'll outcompete the bad bacteria. Um, so if you keep it fed, you typically will not get additional fungus beyond the yeast that would be mold type. Um, to start it, you can take equal parts of flour and water, and different flours will pick up different bacteria. And of course, you have different bacteria in your house and in your area, so they'll all take up different
oh,
things.
Tina, thank you. Put this Atara website web recipe
Recipe?
on the
Oh,
website
yeah, that's not a
with
bad
the
idea.
Lebanese oil. Yeah, we could
Yeah,
do
we could.
that.
That's a nice and
Absolutely.
easy. People can blend their own. Yeah. Um, so you're going to take about 50/50 water to a flour. Rye works slower and is a little more complex. It just picks up different bacteria. But white flour, I'd go for an unbleached, higher quality flour. It doesn't have to be organic. And you let it sit in the water. Or you let it sit open or in a jar that lightly covered with like a towel. Um, and you're gonna let it sit for probably 3 or 4 days. It should start getting bubbly, giving off some gas, and yeah, and then it will eventually the sour will come, and the yeast will subside. The sour will increase. You'll get a little bit of water and purge on top. It's kind of gray. If it gets too sour old, you pour that off. But many times you stir that back in. That's the sour part of it. And I would do that. I'd refresh it. I would add in another batch. Take a portion of that. I'd add in another batch of flour and another batch of water. Stir it all up. Let it go another couple days, and then it will eventually come to balance between sour and bubbly and then you can go make your bread. So you got to feed it before you make your bread, get the yeast active and having it so it's giving off gas. And then the longer you let it sit, unless you let it go so it dies, the sourness will develop and get a little more sour. I put ours back in the fridge. After I feed it for a day, I put it back in the fridge and let it sit there. This one's pretty resilient. I have left it actually for like 2 months without feeding it in the fridge. I then had to refresh it a couple of times to get it back in balance, but it did not kill it. If it starts giving off really bad smells other than sour and yeasty, or starts getting weird colors and molds, then you kind of throw it out. You can freeze them down too and then refresh them.
Do you weigh your flour when you bake, or do you scoop and scrape?
Oh, I weigh by grams. Yeah, gram scale on bread. Yeah, bread's difficult. It's in small amounts make a big difference. So for a quick bread or an everyday bread, yeah, sure, you can scoop and scrape. Get pretty good. Do it by eye. The other thing, things change with the weather. How cold it is, how fast it rises. Hotter it rises faster. When it's cold, it's usually drier. When it's dry, that means that the flour's gonna be drier. You're gonna need a little more liquid. But I do a gram scale, so there's different types of starters. There's all different types of starters that you can buy, or that have different amounts of water and flour, different flavors in them. But what I do is 200 grams of starter, 500 grams of flour, and 360 grams of water, which is very wet. You could reduce that down to like 300, 320. It's very wet, and and then I let it sit either for 4 or 5 hours at slow acting, or I'll actually throw it in the fridge overnight and let it retard all night in the fridge, let it warm back up, and then I will put it in my shape and in my dough conditioning baskets and let it pop one more time, and then I'll go cook it. What about temp? Yeah, it's best to be in a moderately warm room. You don't want it too active, and definitely not like on top of the stove. But too cold of a room will slow or prevent good growth. There's a really nice book here called The Art of Fermentation by Katz, K-A-T-Z. I think he's probably got sourdough in there. Really famous. One of the top two right here on the shelf, actually. One of the top two guys on details of fermentation. Sandor Alex Katz. But yeah, he has. I'm just seeing if he's got bread in here. Bread Bible is another. She wrote a phenomenal book on breads. Let's see here. Sugars, alcohol, meads, wines, and ciders. Nope, that's different. Vegetables, sours, tonics, grains, and starchy tubers. Flatbreads, sourdough, yes. Starting one and maintaining it, page 231. That would be my most authoritative source would be this book. Yeah, and there's many good places. Find one you like, have somebody give you some. That's the easiest way. They are, I won't go into it, but that's what I'd recommend. Unbleached all-purpose flour is fine. If you're making a lot of bread, you might want to look at buying some bread flour. Most stores at this point carry King Arthur. It runs a little more expensive. Catch them when they're on sale. King Arthur is an amazing flour. I buy a unbleached, non-organic bread flour. I use it for another application in my shop. So I buy 50-pound bags of it, and then I buy a traditional organic rye that I get at our health food store at our co-op that I just buy in 25-pound bags to keep the price down. And yeah, Sandor Katz is really, really well known, and because he's really one of the living authorities on complex fermentation. Let's see here. If you want to make a large amount of ghee, how would you do it? Okay, so I make a lot of clarified butter, not so much now, but in restaurants, I would take 30-pound cases. Well, right now we would be heading into uh, lobster, chilled lobsters and raw bars for Christmas parties like crazy when I was on the East Coast. So I would take 2 or 3 cases sometimes of butter, which is 90 pounds, 3 cases. You have to make clarified butter. So for that, you have a couple different methods. You can take your butter, put it in a heavy bottom pot, turn it on very low, let it sit, let it melt, let it separate. You scoop the scum or the protein that comes to the top off of it. You'll then have a large oil phase. It's going to be your yellow butter, your butter oil. And when that's all melted, it may be cloudy for a while, but as it sits, it'll eventually separate, and you're going to scoop all that oil off. And in the bottom, you'll have a small amount of water and some additional protein, and you're going to leave that behind. So you're going to decant the oil off. That's going to give you clarified butter. The other method is you can slowly cook it, and it will bubble and churn. And fortunately, it'll emulsify and kind of put all that protein into solution. But as the water evaporates out and cooks out, the protein will either come to the top or sink to the bottom so that you've actually removed the water. That's the process for starting to make ghee. What happens is some of that protein sticks to the bottom of the pan, and it gets a little nutty and toasty from the heating process and lends some of that toasty flavor into the butter, which gives it more flavor than if you hadn't gotten a little toasty. The challenge is it's really easy for the pan to get hot on the bottom and to burn those protein solids, and then you're going to get a burnt flavor, and you're going to ruin a lot of money in butter. And I've watched cooks do that multiple times. There's not much of anything you can do with it. It's like anytime you burn dairy, you just can't get around it. It's trash. It's very, very expensive to do that. So one way we would get around it is I like to do a double boiler method, where you can actually just get the butter to melt, and then watch that water come down, the scum come off, and it'll kind of separate. And if you don't stir it or anything, you let it sit very gently in just a warm bath of water, maybe 180 degrees, 200 degrees. Like we'd have these big soup bain-maries, things that I could set them in there sometimes out of the way. I found that was much faster, and you didn't have a chance of burning product, and then you could decant the butter fat. Now, if you wanted to turn that into ghee, you could still secondarily put it in to another pot. You could take some of those proteins on the bottom and toast those, or boil them and turn it into that toasty ghee. And then the last thing you want to do if you've done that is you want to strain it through like cheesecloth or a very fine mesh. Make sure the proteins come out and you have clear oil. So that's the difference between clarified or drawn butter versus ghee, which has some toasty notes in it. Yeah. So 8.5 pounds of butter. So restaurant world, that's not a lot. Home world, that's quite a bit. What do you want? The nice thing about ghee is it's shelf stable. So it's long-term shelf stable. You've taken out the water. The interface of the water to the fat can cause, that's where rancidity can develop. It's an chemically unstable, and you can get oxidation because of the water. Oxidation of fats gives off rancid smells or rotten fish smells. And so by making clarified or ghee, you can hold it either cool or even at room temperature for long periods of time without mold growth or souring or rancidity. So it has that advantage. What else? Just taking a look here to see if we have any other comment. Oh, there we go. Been slow cooking it, been scooping it. Looks and smells great. No scraping the pot. Was going to can it. Yeah, you can put it in canning jars. No need to go through pressure or water bath canning it. It's stable. It's safe. If you've removed all the water and proteins, you don't need to go through that. But keeping it in jars is great. I was just given a pint of ghee, incidentally, about a week and a half ago. Not every day I'm given ghee, but somebody goes, "Hey, I got one of these a month from a guy who gives it to me, and I can't use them fast enough. Could you use it?" Like, sure. So, yeah, I mean, ghee is like gold. So, butter is in general. Yeah, letting it slow cook. So some people really want to stir it and let it bubble and do that whole reduction thing. I like to just let it go really slow, and I don't mess with it once I put it all in there. And I just watch the bottom. Low temperature, heaviest bottom pot that you can find, so you don't get too much heat on the bottom. Yeah, if it looks like it's burning, or getting darker than you want, decant it, change your pots, keep on going, move it over to another pot, or clean that pot and put it back in there. That's fine. Just don't let it scar down and get beyond toasty on the bottom. I would say though, I would say that making your own ghee, because of the time, the electric or gas use, the process, and buying butter at retail, it's going to be hard to. You can get a good product, assuming you don't burn it, but it's going to be hard to beat price. You're probably better just buying ghee. But if you have a dairy farm, so the ghee I got was from a farmer who collects all of his extra butter fat, and I guess they're not making cheese or whatever, and he takes all that fat and turns it into a big pot of ghee every month. So if you're doing your own dairy, that's a great preservation. If you get a great buy on dairy, on fat, that's a great, it's a great way to do it. But for those of you that don't have a cow or a great buy on butter, I would look and buy it. Of course, you don't know when you buy it what quality. So the nice thing, you can turn butter, you want real high quality cream. When you're taking butter fat, making ghee, you can actually use lower quality cream, or lower quality butter, so they can get away with cutting the price on butter because you don't see it. So I guess the one advantage of doing it yourself, you got a better quality product. I'm not sure it makes a huge difference. So, and then you get the storage potential on it either way. You can also cut clarified butter or ghee by at least 50%. So you could take that clarified butter or ghee, take a neutral oil of your choosing, vegetable oil or I guess olive oil, but you'll get the olive flavor, or canola oil, whatever you like. You cut it 50%. You'll still get a lot of butter flavor, and so if you're sautéing with it, it'll still taste buttery, making omelets. But you can cut the cost by 50% by taking a cheaper oil and blending it. Incidentally, you can buy 50-50 and 25-75, being 25% being butter fat, pre-blended clarified butter commercially at restaurants. You can buy tubs of it. So like Land O'Lakes sells them. They do a pretty good product. But you can cut the cost by buying those split clarified butter. Of course, they're using byproduct butter themselves. There's probably just a touch lower grade than Land O'Lakes is generally a high quality butter, but they're probably using some of their cast off or their bits and pieces and turning that into their clarified. So we don't make butter. Incidentally, I've been having discussions about making butter for the last 2 weeks with my neighbor at the winter market, Windshadow Farms, which is out in Bangor. They're a small goat farm that also has a USDA or I guess a state of Michigan license to make cheese. So they make goat cheese, but they buy really great cow's milk from a local farm, and they're making some cheeses and some wash rind cheese and some really neat stuff. But she's starting to make some butter and playing with making butter, and she's having a few problems. She was asking me what I thought about it. I said, well, I haven't made a lot of butter, so as a cheesemaker, and they're a little bit newer to it, but they're not a hobby; they're a full business. I said, don't count on me for the techniques for making butter. I know how, but doing the day-to-day and making it good, I don't know. But she was talking to me about washing it. So typically what you do is you take your cream that you've pulled off the top or whatever you've got that's got your high fat, and you can paddle it in a mixer. Problem with paddling in a mixer, so eventually you're gonna make whipped cream, and if you keep paddling whipped cream, it breaks and starts making butter. The biggest problem is if you turn it too fast and you use a whip for it, actually. it'll start spattering everywhere, so you got to cover it with a bag or something. That's always a nuisance. But basically, you're over whipping whipped cream. She makes cultured butter, which means you use a soured cream. So it's a sour cultured or European butter instead of a sweet cream butter. And then after you form these little pellets that are like pea-sized, that's going to be your fat. You're going to have a lot of whey and water left, and you have to rinse butter. So we were actually talking about the rinsing process. I was learning from her about it. So you actually want to rinse it multiple times in good clean water, cold water, and all those pellets, because you want to get all the whey and that extra protein, because you're keeping the fat. You're trying to get most of that protein off, and then you let it dry, and then you press all those little pellets together once they've been rinsed, and that forms your butter. And then you can knead it a little bit and salt it if you want to add salt. Typically, it's 2% salt by weight is added for salted butter. It should be 80+% butter fat, so between 80 and 85, 86% butter fat, and the remainder will be a very small amount of protein, and the rest is water or liquid from the whey. Good question. Yeah, and then making the ghee, we could do that, but I don't know. It's busy right now, but maybe in the winter sometime, Suzanne will let me go out to her place and go visit. Maybe we could shoot a little video making some butter. I don't know. I have to talk to her about that. Oh, Carrie's here. You got other Texas people here, Carrie. You're not alone. You got Arizona too. Why is Pudding Bee banned from the Couch Kingdom? Tina, I don't know. What? Well, it is. It's our best couch in the house by far. Our other couch is kind of torn up. We're actually thinking about buying a new one for Christmas, but that's sort of probably going to be our gift to each other is getting a new couch finally, because the bonded leather pleather is peeling. It's real leather. It's just mashed together. So that is our best couch. She never should have been on there in the first place, but then she made it her home for the last 6 months or 9 months, and
last year
Cindy kept covering it but it's hard to keep it covered
with the blanket.
So Cindy gave in and let her on there, and then all of a sudden she just decided just like 3 days ago to not let her on there. Pudding's not happy about it. She actually pulled the bear off once, which is what our other dog did. Figured out, pulled the other.
I think she jumped on the bear and pushed it off.
He fell off. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So yes, Pudding is we are reclaiming the couch for people to put their butts on instead of dogs. So we have large dog beds. We have these big round ones that she's laying on right now. We have 4 of those maybe, because we had a Saint Bernard and a Great Dane before her, so we had them in multiple rooms for both dogs. We have one that is a square that has a little edge on 2 sides of it, but she doesn't like that one. So yeah, we've got lots of dog beds. This house has a bunch of carpet too, so she has plenty of really nice places to sit other than that couch. She can even sit on the other couch.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if she looks heartbroken. She wasn't she was earlier, a day or so, not looking. She was looking like, why can't she be up there? But
okay, sorry guys. I brought our bottle with us.
So ASL just jumped in. Kiri from Built on a Rock just got here.
Hi, ASL.
We're talking about making ghee, making butter, clarified butter.
This is the bed that we have. Okay.
Yeah, so she's sitting on one of those. In fact, she's sitting on
that one right now. So she has plenty of these beds around.
That one, she wasn't fully heartbroken. She would kind of want to get on the couch. She was watching
eyeing
us. She was tired.
Yeah.
She was by the fire, I think. It may have been warm. She was tired.
Yeah. So, sorry guys, we had a diaper emergency, and after diaper emergencies come food emergencies usually. So
yeah. What else? People have things going on that they're buying seeds or getting garden stuff ready or cooking food or.
We got 2 sets of seed catalogs this week.
Did we?
Yeah, the Baker Creek seed
we
catalog.
Got that
last week.
We got that last week.
And the seed exchange.
Oh, we got the seed savers, which was shortly thereafter. So I like seed savers. We don't buy much from Baker's Creek. I know people love it and they're a good source. Seed Savers is similar. It's all heirloom seeds,
Yeah.
and things that they have excess of. They're kind of expensive too. Incidentally, I had gone to culinary school with, I think, the daughter of the founders and I knew her a little bit, but they're sort of a very lauded group of people at Seed Savers. So they were very early to the heirloom um, seed saving and then propagating and selling, or trading and selling. So if you're looking for really cool varieties, Baker Creek's awesome. Of course, Johnny Seeds is awesome. They do a combination of things. Seed Savers are all non-GMO, all USDA organic, and all heirloom. Doesn't mean you're gonna get perfect for everything, but you're gonna get.
You like the melons in that one?
Yeah, they have some beautiful stuff. They always have.
Yeah.
So we haven't ordered much from them, but I have gotten things. I've also gotten things from the Slow Food Arc of Taste. They have to be notable, they have to be historic, and they must have a story.
Mm-hmm.
And they put them in these really cool packages with art on them. So those are really fun if you're looking
we have some
for.
beans from them.
They're regional. They have
Yeah.
5 or so or more varieties of something from each state or each region that have been selected. So each state has the authority to pick their arc of taste. And I actually had friend who was on the board and part of the arc of taste committee for the selection of the seed. She's a really good grower.
And what's the company again on that one? That's what's the web page on that one? Do you know?
Oh, Slow Food.
Slow Foods.
Slowfood.com or .org,
Okay.
play.org. Of course, Slow Food was founded in Italy, but Slow Food USA, I think their headquarters is in Brooklyn right now. They've been around the U.S. for about 20 years.
We do a lot of M.I. Gardner seeds also.
M.I. Gardner, if you want value,
yeah,
dollars
99
for value,
cents a
he's
pack.
probably the best price. And he's at Homestead. He was at Homestead the last couple of years selling seeds.
Homesteaders America, yep. He was giving away seeds because I think he was coming, because it was the end of the season. He was pretty much starting to give away or sell half price. He often does that at the end of the season. Tina's going to start canning next year.
We can a little bit. We don't have a lot. We should do more. Yeah, I wish we had a little more time. We don't have a pressure canner. I don't own a pressure canner. Not that I wouldn't use it and it wouldn't be helpful, but I don't know how much I'd use it, so it's not on a it's not on a short list. If I fell upon one really cheap, found one at a garage sale, really nice one, and they're expensive. I would definitely try and make use, but I'm not chasing after a pressure canner. I have a mill. I talked about it. I haven't used that yet. I got an old grain mill that I want to play with this winter a little bit.
Yeah, so a couple toys to play with. And Kiri, you said you've been eating all day. Any really good food that at your Christmas party or at church?
What do they eat in Texas?
They eat in Texas barbecue.
I made stir-fried rice, or I made fried rice tonight. First time I've done that in a long time.
Yeah.
But I had duck confit from friends. I had leftover, starting to freezer burn a little bit, a few pieces of shrimp, and we had all kinds of vegetables and cabbage and peas and whatever else, threw all that in there and made real big, like enough for another whole meal or two. I just made a whole lot of fried rice. There you go. Yep. Canner $40. That's the type of canner that I'll, if I fall across something like that, that might be where I end up with a pressure canner.
Yep. But we haven't had time to go to yard sales around here because that's market day. Typically Saturday market day, we don't get out before they're basically sold out of anything good at the yard sales.
Leia's got an alpaca.
It's gonna have a baby.
Yeah, so there's this really good woman who sells socks, especially up through the holidays and well beyond, who's frequently near me by the market. She has really, really nice alpaca socks. We gave them away for Christmas gifts last year. They're expensive, but they're really warm.
Yeah, I have a pair. They are great for those sub-zero temperatures that we get in the winter.
You're supposed to wash or rinse those out and let them hang dry.
Okay.
They'll dry themselves because they're like wool. But
I haven't worn them because they're too warm for the summer.
Yeah, so and they don't really hold. They don't.
They're a little big on me right now too. So if they
they'd probably tighten if you
dried them, they probably shrink.
Well, if you machine washed them once, yeah. But yeah, she has alpacas. I know that for llamas and alpacas and all that, there's a huge run on breeding, and that they're going to be the next cash cash crop animal and the wool and all the rest in the 80s, early 90s. I know right now the cost of maintaining and feeding them is higher than you get. So people are almost giving them away. But a lot of people love them as as long as they're not trying to
Yeah.
not trying to fund their existence on.
Valerie saying, do you mostly freeze your vegetables? Yes.
Yeah.
Or eat them right off.
Yeah, we either freeze them in. Last year we didn't have a real good season, so we didn't have much of anything go to the freezer. Previously, yeah, we froze quite a bit, and that's sort of our go-to.
Yep. Well, we'll also freeze things like autumn olives that we get in the fall, and foraged items.
Shredded pork butt. Yeah, that's Michigan's all about pigs and especially shredded pulled.
Yes.
Pulled barbecue. Pork. Yep.
Yep.
Why? That's a good question. There's lots of reasons to want or not want heirloom seeds. So heirloom seeds are traditionally 50 years or more old. They have to be non-GMO, and of course that.
Well, they wouldn't be GMO if they're 50-year-old.
True. But you could also have some hybrids and other things. So the idea is that a lot of times they move towards organics. So one theory is that all the heavy pesticides, herbicides, as well as crossing and now gene work has polluted the traditional crops of America, even though we've been crossing and changing our seeds for as long as we've been growing product around the world. So things are always changing. But the idea is these are seeds that are less disrupted, and therefore we may want to save them. Some people believe that the seed supply is becoming damaged, and so we're going to need to rely on these old seeds to get back viable seeds with better genetics. The other thing is we have eradicated vast amounts of almost every type of plant. That because of commercial farming, we've selected the things that transport the best, are firm, they hold up, they're uniform, they're easy to pick.
Not necessarily the best tasting though.
Yeah, but not usually. They actually have hard skins, harder flesh. They're more disease resistant. So those are all great things. So the reason not to get an heirloom is that you want a high yield, consistent, reliable crop for commercial farming because you rely on that. And you want to, and the other thing is a lot of these things ripen at different times. So if you want to go into a field and limit labor and you want to take down the whole field and harvest everything, you're going to look for crops that are going to have 80 or 90% of the crop ripe within the window of harvest. So those are all reasons why commercial agriculture has deselected, even if an item may be amazing eating or texture or different flavors. So the reason to seed save is to still be able to have access to these hundreds, if not thousands, of varieties of melons, apples that we may want to experience. Just because they don't go to the grocery store easily doesn't mean they don't taste great in our backyard. That's probably for me the best reason. Variety and fun, good food. But there may be something about sustaining environment either through change or through loss or through pesticide or through genetics.
And for chickens, the heritage chickens, we actually don't do heritage chickens. The only pure breed chicken that we have is actually our silky line. I've been mixing them in because trying to just get them more and more
our own heritage.
Our own breed anyway, not heritage. But we've been mixing our Chanticleer rooster with Buff Orpington. I think I have some Brahma blood in there as well. I'm trying to think if they got them before the late Brahmas were taken out by coyotes, and a little bit of Rhode Island red in there as well. So we're just trying to get.
So biodiversity is probably on the big scale the most important thing is maintaining biodiversity.
Yeah.
Again, if you have disease or issues, so if the most common crops that we grow, potatoes, corn, soybeans, whatever, and we only grow a few varieties. If they're eradicated for some reason, maybe one of these old ones is going to resist whatever is causing pressure. So biodiversity is a safety and food security issue. As a chef and as a home grower, it's the excitement of something that looks different and tastes different and responds different. Problem is, it may rot, it may not grow, it may not yield well, it may do. We may have a real low yield and loss, but we don't really care because we're not depending on all of our own food. So there's really good reasons to pick down the middle, high yield, high growth. But we're looking sometimes for fun stuff.
Do roosters lay eggs? No. um, uh, but they do fertilize the eggs so we can keep our own production and keep fairly self-sustainable as far as keep the generations going without having to buy too many birds. I've not bought chicks or eggs from other than the goose eggs,
Goose eggs, yeah.
from anybody. All of our birds have been raised on property so far, although we may have to buy some silkies due to losing a few to predators.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to buy probably a breeding pair, but at least a male.
Yeah,
and probably 2 or 3.
We have 2 juveniles that I'm not sure of the gender right now, so if they're both female, that would mean we have 3 females that I just get one rooster.
Yeah.
But if either or both are male, we'd probably get a pair, rooster and a hen. So
we have a goose that sings an egg song after his favorite.
After his he's a gander.
So we do have one.
One male sings an egg song, but that's because he follows his girlfriend chicken around everywhere, and when she sings her egg song, he jumps in.
So we do have one named Chicken.
We do have one named Chicken.
Houdini.
Your mom named her. We have one named Chicken.
Houdini's getting a little bit older.
She is. She's a couple years. She's older than the geese.
3. Yeah.
So the geese are 2.5. When was Justin here? It was about 2.5 years ago. They were chicks. They were goslings.
Yes.
Chicks.
That is always the question about, do you need a rooster to lay eggs?
Yeah, I know, right?
No.
No.
In the end, yeah. Roosters don't lay eggs, and you don't need them to lay eggs. But of course, if you want more chickens,
if you want fertile eggs, then you need a rooster. But yeah.
Now, if you have a salamander and some of the other lizards, you don't need a male. They can.
Some of the amphibians.
Yes.
You don't need some of them can change gender. There's a few frogs that do that too. But anyway, that's a whole different topic, a whole different set of genetics going on there. Seeing if we missed anything. Yeah, only to get chicks. And we're only getting like 1 or 2 eggs at a time right now because we do not.
Polar Sumatra.
What is that?
Don't know what that looks like. That sounds interesting.
Yeah,
when we go to the county fair, they always have some crazy chickens.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the mixes that people have. Rhode Island Reds, Copperman Barred Rock mix. The Chanticleer is a rare one, especially the white one. The Polar Sumatra, yeah. So I know there's Polish. The Polish are funny looking. They have like the big, or the Polish with the big feathers on the tops of the head that stick out everywhere. I've been getting seeds from my garden.
Wow! Yeah. So all the way to Arizona. Yeah, you can't beat the prices. And we said at 99 cents, even if.
Although I will say some of the seeds that we got last year, a couple of varieties ended up being something different than what was marked on the package.
Okay.
But I would say in general they're really good and they're really cheap.
And if the viability is a percentage or 2 lower than some or not, which we haven't always seen that.
No, they've been good.
We found them really good. There's a whole bunch of people in the area that buy and think are happy with them too. So yeah.
And he now has a store on the east side of the state.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been there at all yet, but they just
Tina can send fertile silky eggs.
Oh, that would be
awesome. Probably need to wait until things get warm, or
at least until February.
We'll trade you pasta for
silky eggs.
For silky eggs, and
I'll do that.
Like
Absolutely.
March or something.
Yeah, February, March, sometime then. Unless we have that's the other thing. Unless we have a broody hen to give eggs to, we'll have to borrow a incubator. We don't have an incubator, but we could get one. I mean, we could get a small one. We don't need anything huge.
Yeah. So but we need.
That's the other thing. We haven't done any artificial raising of hatching eggs or anything. We've done them all under our hens. So
Except
Yeah.
for the meat chickens we brought in for just a few
Yeah,
weeks.
those were the only ones we actually
Yep.
bought and brought in. So, but the main flocks, we have not bought in any. We have not incubated any eggs, or artificially. We have not.
I don't think we've saved any money between feed bills and electric fences. I'm sure we're behind as far as buying chicken,
But
we're,
we technically haven't bought any
part
chicken.
of we have to run our chickens twice as long as a commercial chicken before they're up to that 3.5, 3.25 to
If we're going for
3.75
meat.
pound range for a
Yeah.
meat bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to, but they come out good.
Yeah, they do.
And they're getting they're getting more and more forage off of. They're actually building really nice soil in front of their
coops.
coops
Yeah.
because we don't use that much of the summer. So
I do have a dream project, which basically a not this year project, but eventually to move the chickens closer to the garden. And what I'd like to do is set up a multiple run system where you can set them up for dividing off a part of the garden where they can have it while you garden in the rest of it. And then next year you change the setup so they're in a different part of the garden and they can have that, or you're gardening in the rest of it. So at least for a breeding flock. That way you can actually run the ones on pasture, like how Justin Rhodes does it with the tractor and move them around. But then you can also have ones that are in the garden working different sections of the garden with a stationary coop. And having two flocks means you have more genetic diversity too, so you can switch the roosters between the flocks and have work it out for breeding purposes too. So yeah, that's a goal eventually. Or set up the winter flocks that way where they can have.
We have a neighbor building a house on a previously forested property next to us, so our coops are close to the property line and closer to where their house might end up. So we may need to be good neighbors at some point and move that stuff more.
It's the winter coops. They're
pretty limited structures, but they may need to be moved or reconstructed towards the middle of the yard, depending on where they put their house, just so they're not making too much noise in their window. But
yeah, there's that. Although they've had chickens, they want to have chickens on their property.
The geese are loud.
The geese are louder than the roosters, so there's that. The rooster mix with the Polish hens. Huh. Yeah, you could get some crazy looking ones, I bet, mixing the different chickens that have the really different looks to them, I'm sure. And it has a crust of feathers on its head, even though she is white and black.
That is crazy.
The green opalescence. Yeah. That's cool. She roosts up in the oak tree. Uh-oh. Hopefully she doesn't get picked off by anything. Must have some low branches on that oak tree too.
Sounds like the guineas that all jump up in the
trees.
Trees at night.
Ours, if they don't get back to the flock into their coop, they will go into the pine trees to roost.
Our chickens, we don't have guineas.
Chickens, yes. Which is probably one of the safer sets of trees to go into because they're under a decent amount of coverage.
They're pretty heavy, big pines.
They're not obvious.
Yeah.
Okay, someone fell asleep here. And it is getting late.
Yeah. What else? Anybody got anything else?
Any other questions? Maybe next week we'll talk a little bit about seeds and what seeds do you guys are your go-tos and which ones do you want to try out this year? I want to look through some of these catalogs.
Some people are totally full into their garden plans already.
No, I'm not.
Many people don't really start till January or February. Of course, we know that commercial farmers, vegetable farmers, they're hardcore first 2 weeks of January in seed buying. They have everything. To get going on them.
They've planned everything.
Yeah, and buying amendments and getting that all put into process. But for casual, you could get a little bit of a break. We haven't done anything yet. We got real busy last year, this current year, and then we had such bad weather that we had a lot of loss, so we just kind of let things run. So we should have really good soil that's kind of
between my not feeling well, not having energy, so much rain, and then it got dry.
Yeah.
And things just didn't do well that we just let it do its thing, and we've kind of pulled some things as we wanted to eat them, but we didn't store anything.
Tina's going to do an enclosed porch Greenhouse. Yeah, 6 mil is really
Awesome.
thick. I think we're running about 4 or 5, 5 mil and 4 mil.
Mhm.
6 mil is good. That'll be really strong.
Yeah.
A little less light penetration, but it holds up. One thing to watch is the surface of your house that you don't get moisture
Yeah.
penetration,
On the
and if there's any
sides,
roof areas that you don't push excessive moisture
like into your
into
attic,
an area where you could get mold growth.
like into your soffit or into your
Yeah.
attic.
But so just think about what type of surfaces and how you handle that. But otherwise, it's been working fine for us. We have a brick front, and then we had open soffits that, but we've actually covered that a little bit more. Just hasn't held in a lot more heat,
Hmm.
but we haven't had really cold weather
And
yet to check it. It
and
seems to be a little better though.
the other thing is, I haven't filled those buckets with water. I do think they helped hold some of the heat
Yeah.
a little bit,
We also
just a
have a
little bit.
concrete slab under there. The concrete radiates,
Whatever's
takes
underneath.
out some heat. It's
If it
not
was
adding cool, but it's a heat sink, and in a bad way that it's cold. So if we covered some of that or built a little bit of a
the
deck,
ground
we could.
under it's frozen, it
Of course, the more you
yeah.
fill it up with plants and they're respiring and living, the warmer it gets from them just being there.
That is true too.
So if
And
you
all
can,
that
so if you
soil
can
and
pack a greenhouse full of plants, you're actually better off.
yeah, it'll hold its heat on its own a little bit more. But yeah, so it,
Ooh, pea plants. Yeah, everybody likes pea plants.
absolutely. And pea shoots, do you eat your pea shoots at all? Or grow any pea plants for the shoots? So that's
Tendrils and
another,
shoots,
yeah,
both.
tendrils,
Yep.
yep. So that is another thing that well, I haven't really harvested shoots or tendrils that much.
Um, we don't really. I'm not sure if we have a breed. Because we have this mixed breed that we've worked with. We've looked for ones that are fairly docile.
Um,
Um,
as far as the roosters I've liked best, the one I liked best was the one that had a name was Leapy, um, who was a Chanticleer. So, and he's the one that I started breeding into the flock on purpose because they're bred in
our
northern Canada with a
yeah,
small comb, cushion comb, or rose comb. I think it's a cushion comb um, that doesn't get frostbite as easily. And so they're really cold
our Rhode
hardy.
Island Reds that we had before that were a lot more aggressive.
He wasn't
He wasn't bad.
horrible.
Some of the other ones were more aggressive.
Yeah, he wasn't horrible, but he did, like, if you looked like you might be threatening any of his hens, he would come up to you and flap his wings right at you, like hard on your legs. But he didn't
No,
peck
no,
or use his spurs.
no, he didn't.
So I would say he was
He was fine.
he
Yeah,
was fine. He was not as bad as some people have, but he was definitely a little more protective than Leapy. Leapy's kind of a little more laid back, but he was also
we
very,
didn't pick our chickens. They came with the house, so
yeah,
we
originally.
don't. They were probably just Tractor Supply or something. I don't think they were specially picked out.
But there were
Or the
four types that
or the
originally
local,
came.
Oak Ridge. We have a couple feed stores, so they were probably just commercial stock.
Yeah,
But we don't know.
yeah. Um, never harvested the shoot.
Yeah, so you can cut off tendrils or shoots, the tiny tender pieces, and you can get the pea shoots when they're like this big. You need big bags of them. You saute them with fresh garlic and olive oil or sesame oil. They're amazing. I do that in Chinatown this spring, but you need huge amounts of them. The tendrils, you just cut off little ones. You can eat them in salads. That's nice. Or you can use them for little garnishes if you're doing hors d'oeuvres. We use them a lot in restaurants. But if they get very big at all, they get tough.
Desert Angel. I have potatoes that we never pulled out of the garden this year
Yeah,
that we'll have growing back next spring again. And garlic too, for that matter.
yeah. We have really good potato growing
Yeah.
around here. We actually have
We
commercial potato growing.
we in our garden, no matter what we do, trying to pull all the potatoes, we will always have potatoes growing again next year where we had our potatoes the previous year.
But yeah, that's
But it grows really well in
so
our
you're
sandy
probably trying
soil.
to grow more in Arizona. You're probably trying to grow some of the cooler weather stuff right now because,
Yeah.
of course, summertime when we're trying to grow things that need the heat, you've got too much heat.
Yeah, I might depend on where a little
Yeah,
bit. 13
13
moons,
moons,
hello. We were just wrapping up. It's after
pretty
10.
much.
Yeah. But and I do think we should take off and wrap up here because I think Bella is getting really tired and slightly fussy. Not too bad right now, but um and it is getting late anyway. So for those of you guys who have to work in the morning, I usually do, but not right now. It is 10:20 our time.
I gotta work in the morning.
You do. I just have to keep getting up every about 4 hours through the night uh, to feed a baby. But haven't added the work back into that schedule yet. But no, so next week we'll join you again. Of course, we'll be coming up to Christmas. It'll be the last weekend before the holiday. So if you end up with any cooking questions for the
Or meal
holidays,
plans or
meal
whatever. Yeah.
plan ideas, we'll probably do what do you
Traditional foods that you eat that you like, or
yes,
terrible things that you're subjected to every year at family events.
terrible traditions or amazing traditions. So yeah, what we'll have to do is what is your least favorite family tradition for meal, and what is your most favorite family tradition for meal for Christmas meal next week. So 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Come with your favorites and your least favorite
Rod
traditions.
Stewart. Yeah, you need to.
Food traditions.
Some of us live in a rod-free zone.
um,
You
food traditions. We'll keep it to food traditions. And then we'll go through some of ours. We're going to probably, my parents might be here, but that's all right. We'll still have our live show.
Oh, that's true. They may be coming for Christmas, or they are.
I think they're coming the weekend before.
The weekend. We're not doing much, so we just kind of. Is that next weekend?
They're coming next weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just need to make sure we have food in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, food that they want to eat, or food to feed enough of us.
Food to feed enough of us, and a little bit of meal planning going on for when they come. So we're not doing Christmas on Christmas.
Yeah, we're taking it pretty easy.
We're kind of we're having a trickle of people coming through.
My parents are going to come a little bit after.
You have other family coming a little after, and my family's coming a little.
I do.
Before.
I have my two cousins are coming right after Christmas to visit, and maybe their parents are stopping by.
Yeah.
Cousins want to hang out and eat.
Yeah.
I think the parents want to come and see Bella.
Your cousins always want to come and hang
That's
out
right.
and eat, but
they're
that's
fine.
fun. Jello with canned fruit.
That's big in the Midwest. I don't mind Jello.
I don't mind Jello.
If it's made right, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
You can do some bad things to it, but generally, I don't mind it.
Okay.
We don't really make Jello much.
Okay, guys. Instead of starting another hour of talk today.
Oh, the Polish roux is Rod Stewart. I got it.
Oh, yeah. The Coghill Farms. I forgot that. Yeah, his Polish roux is named Rod Stewart. He is hilarious. I should show it to you. You don't watch Coghill Farms?
I don't think so.
I don't know if I've ever showed you that channel before.
I mean, I know of them. I may have seen something,
That's the
but
Dancing
not.
Farmer. I've shown you some
seen
of that.
I've seen that.
Anyway, we'll come back to it next week, Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will chat with you then the last weekend before Christmas. So have a good week, you guys. Take care.
Good night.